She says I just can't win for losing, and she lays back down. Man, there's so many times I don't know what I'm doing, like I don't know now. By the light of the moon, she rubs her eyes, says it's funny how the night can make you blind. I can just imagine. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but if she feels bad, then I do too. So I let her be. And she says, oh, I can't take no more. Her tears like diamonds on the floor, and her diamonds bring me down. 'Cause I can't help her now. She's down in it. She tried her best and now she can't win it. Oh, see them on the ground, her diamonds falling down. We're down. She sits down the stairs into the distance, and it takes all night. Break her concentration, oh, but it don't feel right. So by the light of the moon, she rubs her eyes, sits down on the bed and starts to cry. And there's something less about her, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I sit down and I cry too, but don't let her see. She says, oh, I can't take no more. Her tears like diamonds on the floor, and her diamonds bring me down. 'Cause I can't help her now. She's down in it. She tried her best and now she can't win it. Oh, to see them on the ground, her diamonds falling down. Out the night, tries to close her eyes, she can find daylight, and she'll be alright. She'll be alright, just not tonight. And she says, oh, I can't take no more. Her tears like diamonds on the floor, and her diamonds bring me down. 'Cause I can't help her now. She's down in it. She tried her best and now she can't win it. Oh, see them on the ground, her diamonds.
nice bright song to start. I'm one of Janice's favourite singers. Today we celebrate and remember a woman who shone so brightly and lived so vividly, Janice Beane. She's the gentle breeze on your face, the twinkle in the stars, the sudden ray of sunshine that warms your broken hearts. Good afternoon, my name is Kathy. I'm your celebrant today to help guide you through a day that you all wish you didn't have to be at. That day is the day you say goodbye to Janice. You're not just here to say goodbye, but you're also here to learn about her life by sharing memories, and you're here to celebrate her life and to celebrate that you are all a part of her life in some way. On behalf of myself, the staff of Stephen Baggs, Janice's family, I'd like to welcome you here today and to thank those that travelled to be here today. I'd also like to welcome those that are joining us via the live stream and sending your love across the miles, and there's some people I will name individually that aren't here. Janice was a loving mother of Dale and Mandy, an admired mother-in-law of Sam, adored nana of Braden and Hamish, also mother-in-law of Luke and adored nana of Jade and Ivy, who are watching us from Western Australia, and they're sending their love. She's loved step-nan of Hannah and Caleb, loved sister of Glenda, who has passed away, Les, Jimmy, who was also unable to be here, and sister Debbie. She was a foster sister to Karen and Lisa, and a much-loved daughter from another mother of Lizzie and Harry. Another great friend and relative who was unable to be here today in person is Lynette Eaton. She's also joining us via the live stream. Janice was an aunt, relative, friend of many. Today there will be tears, and that's okay, but hopefully there will be smiles and laughter too, which is what Janice would have wanted. I'm sure she would have been so pleased to see each of you here and those that send their love. You'll hear a brief outline of her life through her eulogy, then you'll get to hear so much more about her special memories that will be shared by family and friends. I'd like to acknowledge those that are wearing the Carlton colours to honour Janice's favourite footy team. For those of you that haven't worn them or don't like Carlton, just look at the photo of Janice on the back of the booklet. Okay, that's from Janice. Following on from today's ceremony, Janice will be privately cremated and her ashes will be shared by Dale and Mandy. Although how they decide who gets what is anyone's guess. Mandy will scatter some of Janice's ashes at Esperance, where Janice went riding on a jet ski and absolutely loved, and the rest might be planted under a bush near the pool in their backyard. Dale, on the other hand, has different ideas about what he will do with his share of his mum's ashes. He plans to take some to the next grand final that Carlton play in and quietly scatter them on the oval. Could be quite a while. Dale actually said to me that by the time they were in another grand final, his ashes might be with his mum's, and one of his sons will have to do the deed. After here at the chapel, you're all invited back to the Bairnsdale RSL, where you can continue on sharing your memories and having a play on the pokies in Janice's honour. Janice died peacefully on the 10th of April at the Bairnsdale Hospital after a very hard battle with illness. Her family and friends would like to express their sincere thanks to the staff at the hospital for the care given to Janice and to them during her illness. They'd especially like to thank the domestic staff who called in to see Janice and to chat with the family and friends, and I see some of those staff are here. Janice was born on the 7th of November 1958 here in Bairnsdale to parents Ian and June Prout. She was the youngest of 4 children, and she went to the Bairnsdale Primary School and then went to the high school. When Janice was 13, due to circumstances, she went to live with Lizzie and Harry Stewart. She had a wonderful upbringing with them and her 2 sisters from another mother, Karen and Lisa. Janice moved to Sale and lived with Glenda before moving back to Bairnsdale, where she started work at Half Case. For the younger ones that don't know, it's a building that's probably where Kmart was, which is now Safeway, which was there for a long time. She made some lifelong friends there, including Lynette, Eileen, Dawn, Kerry, Leanne, Julie and Diane, just to name a few. Good times were spent with these friends and many more. Lynette set Janice up on a blind date with Neville. They fell in love and got married in September 1981 and lived at Bollamore Road in Wyong. They welcomed their first child, a son, Dale, in 1982, and then Mandy followed in 1984, completing the family. They moved to East Bairnsdale, then bought a home in Swan Street and were happy there for many years. Janice and Neville will often be seen going for rides on the motorbike. Janice was always a hard worker and spent time working at Lindenow in the packing sheds, then worked at Something Fishy, which was another building that the young ones wouldn't remember. It's a fish and chip shop down the main street. Janice and Neville parted ways. Janice bought a home in Gould Street and made it her own by doing it up and putting her own finishing touches on the decor. And she loved that place. She was very proud. She had several wonderful holidays and even went on a cruise on her own, as well as to New Zealand and to Bali with Mandy. And you're going to hear about that trip a bit later. Another of her favourite destinations was Merimbula, but you'll also hear more about that from friends. I think Janice's favourite job was the last job she had as a home economics assistance teacher at the Bairnsdale Secondary College, where she worked for 21 years. She'll be greatly missed by the staff and students there, both past and present, and there's quite a few staff members from the school here. And the family, thank you for coming. In November last year, Janice fell ill and fought a hard battle, gave her best to get well again. She was in the Bairnsdale Hospital and in Monash in Melbourne, where Mandy got to see her mum. The fight became too much for her and she passed away peacefully on the 10th of April with family and friends by her side. I'd now like to ask Dale if you'd like to come up and share some memories. Eileen? Okay, yep, whichever order.
This is the vodka. I wish it was right at this point. Just a warning that you may find some content in this eulogy offensive. If you do, I actually suggest you may be confused and attending the wrong service. This is the service for Janice Beane, so you would expect that anything goes. Having said that, I've played it pretty low key because I actually feel too sad to be funny. So I've kept our naughtiest and funniest memories as memories. But I'll share a few with you. My friendship with Janice began 43 years ago when we worked at Half Case Supermarket. We worked together in the fruit and veg department. Janice adopted the philosophy that if you start the day, work hard and fast, and that left the afternoon for laughing. That's exactly what we did, and every day was a good day. During this time, Janice went on a blind date with Janice Beane. Returned to work the next Monday and said, yeah, he was okay, I think we'll end up getting married. The night before the wedding, Janice and I stayed at her future mother-in-law's house, Yvonne Beane, and I witnessed the beginning of a bond between Janice and Yvonne that still is strong today. Not so much the marriage. Decked out in our bridal wear, we headed to her Bullamore Road house and the girl got married. Party pies, sausage rolls and little cocktail salves. It was as simple as that, much like the girl herself. She began her family pretty much straight away, which sadly for me meant that our working days came to an end. We would see each other periodically, but our life took different journeys for a little while. Years went by and we both had growing children. I worked at the secondary college and Janice was happily working at a vegetable packing shed in Lindenow and at Something Fishy. The secondary college needed someone to fill a gap in home ec to work alongside me. The person who agreed to take the... Is that Janice? For God's sake, I'm talking. The person who agreed to take the job had a family Tats Lotto win the week before they were due to start, so they pulled out. I went to Janice and asked her to consider going for the job. She agreed to it, albeit with some uncertainty because she'd never undergone an interview, so we began practicing for that. A few weeks into the job, I asked her how she felt about it, and she replied, I feel like I was the one that won Tats Lotto. I absolutely love this job. That was 20 years ago, and the connections she made with students will go down in history. When Janice started at the college, she would be like, oh, Johnny's such a lovely boy, blah, 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 blah. In time, that translated to, God, Johnny's a little prick today. He's refusing to do his dishes. He's just acting like a little shit. Then you'd witness her out in the kitchens, chatting away with the group of Johnnies, telling them how wonderful they were, or listening to whatever mischief they got up to on the weekend, or a goal they might have scored in basketball. And unbeknown to the group of little Johnnies, they would be doing their dishes, and more often than not she had them working out of the palm of her hand. She did have her limits though. If any of those little pricks barracked for Collingwood, you're on your own. I'm not doing the bloody dishes. On Saturday afternoon, it was a regular occurrence that we would walk down the street and she would go bargain hunting. Loved a bargain. When we got to around the location of McDonald's, you would start to see familiar faces of school kids. Yeah, those kids that hang around the street all weekend. And every weekend would be the same. Hey, Janice. Hello, Janice. Hey, Janice, you legend. Yo, Janice. Hey, Janice, what are we cooking this week? And Janice would reply to all of them by their first names as if they were her best friends. It always made me feel like shit because I was like, oh Jesus guys, I work there too. And she'd turn around and say, no chance, I've already told him you're a cranky old bitch. Another tribute to her student connections, and this time with the older kids, was the Year 11s would have a Deb ball and they would vote in somebody that they wanted to be presented to do the curtsy and all that, whatever it's called. And this particular year, Janice won hands down. The lads had backed her in. She bought a new dress, hair, makeup, looked a treat, and hopefully in the photo tribute you will see a couple of lads holding her up, and she was in her element. Before I move on from school days, Janice did request that if things went pear-shaped, that I thank David Ballantyne for his visits while on duty at the hospital. She would often joke that David changed his career path because he was obviously stalking her and totally besotted with her. Also, she wanted to thank Joanne Rankin, who, although very busy, went out of her way to ensure all the admin stuff was taken care of, which was complicated due to COVID and vaccination issues. Living at Swan Street, she had a pool table, and it was far from a gold class pool table, but it entertained us for hours and hours every weekend. Janice, when in doubt, resorted to shutty-eye, hitty-hard, and balls would go all over the shop, and you would not believe the amount of balls she pocketed. Totally arsey, no skill required. If she was playing in pairs, you'd encourage her to be strategic. Janice, think about the next shot strategically. Think about your partner. Think about how you could set that up so your partner could do this. And just when you thought you might have got through to her, she'd hit the shit out of those balls and there'd be balls everywhere and she'd get in some fantastic shots and jump around with her cue and say, see, it's that easy. Janice and I had many Laverne and Shirley trips to Melbourne, Murrumbidgee House, basically wherever there was a pokie venue and a game of bingo on. It became evident very early that you could take the girl out of the country, as the saying goes, but we were staying at the Vic in Melbourne. I arrived back at the motel room one night and there she was with my bottle of Sorbeline moisturiser, and it had a nozzle tap on it that you hit. And the window was a little ajar and she was squirting the moisturiser trying to hit people as they passed. I said, Janice, what the? And she said, oh, birds do it all the time. It's called bird shit. It's natural and it's good luck. We were going for lunch this day to Lakes, and on this particular day I was driving. Now, I'm not the best driver, but I'm cool with that. We're all good at different things. That's fine. I was driving through Nicholson and there was a row of witch hats along the road and a workman holding a sign. I remember seeing the sign, forgot to take in whatever it said and kept driving through. I did actually notice the man with the sign jump out of the way at the last minute. Well, Janice was onto it. She was hysterical, reliving the moment the guy jumped with his sign and exaggerating the whole scenario. When we got to the other end of the roadworks, the guy holding his sign was on a walkie-talkie, obviously to the first guy. And this guy was giving me the two-finger salute, which set us into hysterics. Anyway, we arrive at the bolo, we have lunch, we have our poke, and we're heading home. As we're nearing Nicholson, Janice, unbeknownst to me, has slipped her window down, taken off her seatbelt. Then she's climbed halfway out the window and she's frantically waving to the man with the sign saying, "Run for your life, fellas, she's coming back!" I took Janice on December the 2nd, 2021. I took Janice back to the doctors after a difficult week. It was obviously she was extremely ill, but still her humour did not fade. I got her out of bed and said, "Okay, you'll need to pop a dress on." We go to the wardrobe and I said, "Here, take this one." And she said, "Oh no, makes me look too sexy." I said, "Okay, what about this one then?" She said, "No, it makes me want to dance." "Oh, I feel too sick to dance." "Okay, Janice, this one, just put it on." "Oh no, too much cleavage. I'll attract too much attention." "Give me that one, it's just plain, it won't get me into any trouble." We left the medical centre that day and we were told to head straight to emergency, that they'd been notified we were coming. It was a hot day and I virtually had to pick her up and carry her back to the car. Tearfully she said, "Do you think I'll have to stay overnight?" I said, "Yeah, I reckon you will." I said, "We'll go home and pack a few things on the way." She said, "Well, I want a fag before I go in and I'll need to buy some." I said, "No worries, Janice." I said, "We'll just go over to the Shell and grab a packet." Stubborn bloody Janice at her best. She says, "We will not. They're too expensive there. I want to go to the cheap shop in Bailey Street." Very patiently I said, "No, I think the Shell's a better place to go because the emergency department is waiting for you." Janice says, "No bloody way. I'll walk down there if you don't drive me." So, okay, my patience is gone. "This is the deal, Janice. If you want a fucking fag, we're going to the Shell servo. I won't be going to Bailey Street, and if I did, I'd have to leave you in the car, and by the time I got back to the car, you'd be dead. So this is the deal, Shell or nothing." She flung me $50. So I ran in and I said to the man, "I need a packet of menthol cigarettes, whatever they are, just in a hurry, any brand." And he gave me a packet of 25 and $2. And I thought, "Ooh, shit, she's going to be pissed." So I get back in the car and she snarled big time when I gave her the $2 and she said, "Well, I hope you're happy now." We got to the house and I suggested on this occasion that she smoke inside because it was such a hot day, but no way would she do that. So out in the 30-degree heat she heads with her cigarettes. While I quickly ran around and packed stuff, I turned around in the kitchen to go out the back to get her, and there she was leaning on the wall. She was grey and gasping, and I pretty much lifted her in a fireman's lift and put her in the car, and I was very relieved to get to casualty. This connects up to what I've just been talking about. During our January school holidays, she wanted some cold Coke. So I got on my bike over at Eastwood and rode over to the hospital with this Coke. There was a guy in a wheelchair in a surgical gown looking really distressed outside the hospital. And I stopped and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, love, I just need a cigarette. Came down from the bush yesterday for emergency surgery and no one's packed me rollies." So I went into the reception and delivered the Coke. And on my way out, I thought, "Oh, I've got an idea." So I asked the guy if he was allowed to actually have a cigarette. He said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "My surgery was yesterday, but I just haven't got any money with me. No vice to get them." And I said, "Look," I said, "I've got a friend in here who lives just over there." And I said, "If you want, I can ride over there and get you some cigarettes and bring them back." And he said, "Oh, that'd be great." So I got on my bike and done my mercy dash over to Janice's house, grabbed the freezer bag, found the cigarettes, put 10 in, named the lighter, and went back to the guy at the hospital. And he was one very happy man. So then when I got home, I phoned Janice and I was telling her the story, and she said, "Oh, that's such a nice thing to do." She said, "Did you get any money for them?" I said, "Janice?" And she said, "Well, fuck, I haven't forgotten you made me pay $50 for it." So obviously the rest of the packet are in there. Little did I know the night I left her in casualty what the next 4 months would bring. It was a cruel, harsh and very confusing journey for her. I saw Janice mid-December. She was being transferred to Sales, so I hung around the ambulance bay, albeit for 2 hours, until they wheeled her out. From a distance, I did the frantic waving this time, but the ambos said, "No, come on, come up and see her." She was wrapped up very securely and looking extremely fragile. It's a face I'll never forget. Through her tears, she quietly said, "Can you just take me home? Can you please just take me home?" I said, "Not today, lovey, but I promise I will another day." That day never came. Janice, thank you for being my go-to person. Thank you for loving me for me. Thank you for being my designated driver on a zillion occasions. Thank you for loving and caring for Sarah, Robbie and Ruby. To say I will miss you is an understatement. You leave a gaping, lonely hole in my life that literally scares me. Janice, you were a firecracker. Little, loud and excitable, obnoxious, annoying and stubborn, caring, loving and loyal. She was everything a best friend should be. Ours was a valued friendship that will never be forgotten. Janice Beane, I'll see you on the other side.
Where's my vodka? My name is Mandy. I'm Janice's daughter. Thank you to our family and friends for being here today to farewell Mum and celebrate her life and the beautiful person she was. My husband and our two daughters, Jade and Ivy, are unable to be here today, but they send their love to all and are watching us via the live stream. If I could pick a phrase to describe my mum, it would be one of a kind. There was no one else quite like her. A lovable larrikin who loved to have a laugh and a joke. She was the life of the party. Everyone knew when Mum had arrived. Mum loved her family and friends dearly, never forgot anyone's birthday and always had gifts ready for them. Above all, she was an amazing grandmother and treasured her grandchildren dearly. How lucky they were to have such an awesome nanny. When my eldest Jade was learning to talk, she couldn't say Jan, so instead she said jam. It stuck and Mum was known thereon as Nanny Jam. Mum always had time for whatever the kids wanted to do. Nothing was too much trouble and she was always ready with hugs, kisses, gifts and activities for them. Just as Mum was first admitted to hospital in November, my husband and I purchased a beautiful new home, complete with a pool. We excitedly shared pictures with Mum and told her all about it. She was over the moon for us. All she wanted to do was to get better so that she could come over to us and see our new place for herself. She desperately wanted to float around in the pool with a cruiser with a cocktail umbrella in it. As Mum became more unwell and was transferred to Melbourne, I organised with the hospital to be able to go and visit her. I excitedly told her the news and in true Mum style she said, "Oh honey, don't waste your money on airfares just for me." Mum always thinks of everyone else's needs and puts everybody else first. I was able to have 3 lovely visits with Mum at Monash for an hour at a time. We had some quality chats, we listened to Rob Thomas, I brushed her hair and we said goodbye in case she didn't get better. Mum didn't want to dwell too much on her illness and instead was more interested to know about what shenanigans Melissa and I were going to get up to during my stay in Melbourne, where we were going to shop and what we were going to buy. As Mum didn't get the opportunity to come and see us in our new place, we had a celebration of Mum's life on the night she passed. We sat out by the pool with cruisers with umbrellas in them and toasted to Mum. We floated little candle lanterns in the pool. We cranked up all her favourite tunes. Rob Thomas, Jimmy Barnes, the Eagles, the Beatles, Lobo, all the good stuff she loved. We then played Battleship and Mario Kart and reflected on her life and the time we had with her. We all know how much Mum loved a banter and a joke, so I'd like to share with you now some of my favourite fun memories of Mum. Battleship was mine and Mum's special game. We spent countless nights staying up late, drinking cruises and sinking each other's ships. Mum was a gracious loser but a terrible winner. On the odd chance she won, she would never let me forget it. She would gloat and rub it in my face, something shocking. She would do a little dance in her kitchen and say, "I'm the best admiral in the Navy."
She would also get cocky early on in the game. If she scored a hit early, she would give me her 2-finger salute and say, "Suffer," or "Take that, you little bitch." Even with her glasses on, I know you can picture that, yeah. Even with her glasses on, she could never see her boats or the pegs properly and often put them in the wrong spot. I bought her a little torch to help her see, but even still I would score a hit on one of her boats and she'd shout, "I don't have a boat there," and I'd shout back, "Well, you do, because the computer's telling me there's a hit there," and she would swear and readjust her fleet. One night we were both searching for each other's 2-man ship and it came down to the last point. I still wonder what Mum's neighbours thought of all the screaming and swearing at 10 o'clock at night when I won by 1 shot. I loved to prank Mum because her reactions were the best. Some of these pranks were buying some sticky googly eyes and sticking them on random photos around her house and over Chris Judd's eyes on her book. She yelled at me, "You leave my Juddy alone." One day there was an APCO shopping trolley not far from her house on the road, so Luke and I wheeled it to her place and lifted it over the fence so it looked like she'd taken the trolley. I got a phone call the next morning with her yelling, "Did you put an effing trolley in my yard? I tried to return it, but it won't fit out my gate. You'll keep, you bloody little bitch." One night at a dress-up party, I wore a long pair of hideous boots that I found for $1 at the op shop. In the middle of the night after the party, Melissa, Ben and I pulled up quietly outside of Mum's house and put the boots on her front doorstep. Strangely, she didn't suspect us and I had to call her the next morning to ask if she found anything interesting that day. When the penny dropped, she called us a few interesting names. We had fish and chips in Paynesville one day and a swan bit Mum on the toe. She screamed the foreshore down and I could barely pick myself up off the ground from laughing. Last year I bought Mum a special birthday card. When the recipient opens it, it plays a song and it won't stop until the battery goes flat. It's full of glitter too, so if they tear it apart, the glitter goes everywhere. I got a call from Mum screaming, "Mandy, my card won't stop, what's wrong with it?" She put it in her spare room drawer until it eventually stopped. One day we were at Auntie Nett and Stacey's house. Nettie said something that shocked Mum. I don't remember exactly what she said. And Mum said, "You're kidding me." Auntie Nett said, "No, I'm serious." Mum said, "Well, cut me legs off and call me Shorty." Stacey and I looked at each other and I said, "Mum, we don't have to cut your legs off to call you Shorty." Do you remember that, Stacey? In 2011, before my kids were born, we took Mum to Bali and water trip, her first time overseas, and she loved it. Of course, there were some priceless memories to come out of that trip. We took Mum parasailing in Sanua. She got harnessed up, they blew the whistle for her to start running for the water. The boat took off, the rope pulled tight and up she went. All everyone on the beach could hear as she went up was, "Ah, fuck!" The monkeys were a little too friendly in Ubud. Mum was too scared to go on her balcony to have a smoke, so I had to go out with her and shoo the monkeys away with a hat and a water gun. Every morning we went down for breakfast, we had to take our water gun because they would come and steal the toast off our plates. Whilst in Bali, we all adopted traditional Balinese names. There are 4 traditional names and your name is allocated according to the children's birth order. So my name was Muddy, Luke was Newman and Mum was Ketut. We did a cycling tour in Ubud. Mum hadn't been on a bike in years but did really well. We all started to relax and enjoy the scenery. The guides were lovely and constantly calling out behind them to check on us. "Muddy, Newman, Ketut, you all okay back there?" After a while, Mum stopped answering, so we stopped and waited. Another guide rode up and said, "Ketut crashed her bike into a rice paddy. The car is bringing her up now." The front guide came back and I still remember exactly how he said it. "Where is Ketut?" We said, "She's in a rice paddy back there, apparently." Thankfully, Mum only sustained a few scratches and her pride was the only thing damaged. Sorry. Just a second. Mum, I'm so thankful for all the time we got to spend together when I lived in Victoria. I'll miss our coffees, how we can each clean up a block of chocolate while watching The Bachelor, our cruiser and battleship nights, and I'll miss how you were always there and had my back no matter what. We miss you, Mum. We love you. We'll never forget you. Thanks for everything you've done for us. You're now back with your beloved Glennie, Nanny Stewart and Poppy Brown. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Janice's little sister Debbie from Adelaide. Just something little. Janice was the big sister everyone wished they had. Janice made life fun and we had so many laughs and special moments shared, which I'll keep to myself. Janice adored her children, Dale and Mandy, and when the grandchildren arrived she was so fulfilled and happy. Janice always shared how much they all meant to her and couldn't wait to see them all. COVID made it difficult for all of us to see each other, and I will always regret the time not spent together. Thinking we had all our retirement together to spend catching up and dancing, having fun. We spoke most days when she was in hospital, and my heart would break for her suffering, not being able to care for her or even see her. I can only offer words of encouragement, promising her a huge celebration when she came home. Well, now we must all celebrate for her. She lived for her family, and now we must go on and remember our Janice in the day-to-day special moments. When we're having a coffee and a chat, remember her. When you see a Carlton game, remember her fierce supporter stance and swearing. When you see beauty in your day, remember her as I will. I will forever miss my lovely sister until we dance again. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple here on behalf of other people, and then I've got one for myself. This is on behalf of Harry Pop. Janice, or you're more affectionately known as Sprouty, you were 13 years old when you came to live with us. Wow, 50 years ago. You were in your first year of high school. This was new to us too. We had two little girls. Lisa was 4 and Karen was 3 at the time. You instantly fitted into our family and was soon just like a daughter to us. I worked with Butzer, your dad. We were all friends. Right from the early days, you and Mum, Lizzie, formed a friendship and bond that stayed strong until the end. We watched you grow into an incredible young lady, get married and have 2 children, Dale and Mandy. Janice, you're a huge part of our lives. We loved you like our own daughter and will forever miss your infectious laugh and silly humour. You are now with Mum Lizzie, Dad Butzer and Glenda, your sister. I know you and Mum will be watching the footy together and will continue to watch over us all. Love you, Sprouty. So that's from Harry. Thanks, Bob. This is from Karen. Sprouty, you looked after me as a big sister right from the start. I remember when you got your licence and your little blue Mini, Mum would often let me go to Melbourne with you to visit Glenda and always stopped at the Caribbean markets. You were there on the sidelines, always supporting me. I will miss our road trips with either Jimmy Barnes or Rob Thomas up at full volume. Thank you for always being there when I needed a shoulder or an ear, for your love of me and for being the best Auntie Janice to Marley, Jeremy and Jenna. And great auntie to Eli, Tanner and Briley. Take care of Mum and no arguing over the footy. Love you always, my beautiful sister. That was from Karen. And this is from Lisa and Kevin and Jared from WA, who couldn't make it today as well. Janice, I have so many good memories of you. One I remember well, you showed me how to put makeup on. You used to wear bright blue eyeshadow. We would sit together and pluck our eyebrows and squeeze pimples. I forgot that, Lisa. I'm in trauma from her squeezing of pimples. I didn't get to say goodbye, so I suppose this is it. Goodbye, big sister. I love you and will miss you very much. And then they expressed their thoughts with Dale, Mandy and the families at this time. Thank you. Thank you everyone that took the effort. Now a few little words from me. Mum, I'd never prepared myself for this day. Every time you wanted to talk wills or funerals, even before you were ill, I said, I want at least 80 years out of you, and kind of fobbed it off. As a lot of people here have said to me and be thinking, we feel ripped off as Mum had so much left to do and was getting towards the part of the life that she could look forward to beyond work. Mum, we had so much in common. I inherited your taste in music and football team and your sense of humour. You were my number one fan. When I had good news of any type, you were honestly the first person I called. Whether that was a new job, sporting achievements, however big or small, or as just a debrief about the football. Become engaged, or to tell you that you're a grandmother. The feeling of pride and happiness that came back through the phone was immeasurable. Now, here's some things you may not have known about Janice. If you've been to the football with Mum, it can be quite an ordeal. Win, lose or draw, if you were the person that was sitting next to her, there was a pretty good chance you would have got multiple punches in the leg. Fortunately, well, at least while I was there, she never did it to anyone that we didn't know. As you're well aware by now, shopping was her thing. Of my 39 years here, I think I would have spent at least 6 months at the discounted items in various stores, standing next to her as a little kid or a young adult going, what do you actually need that for? Despite the long distance between us, we enjoyed regular phone calls. Often 30 minutes would go by like nothing. These phone calls were almost instigated by me all the time because she was too worried that I'd be busy if she tried to call. However, there was one exception to that rule. If I got a text message saying, "Are you free?" I knew I had to drop everything I was doing and call you because I knew you were having trouble with either your phone or your computer or both. In the end, it took me installing TeamViewer on your computer so that every time you phoned, I knew what the heck you were trying to do. Every Mother's Day we got to celebrate was special, and it's gut-wrenching to know there won't be any more. I remember fondly back in grade 2 winning the Mother's Day raffle for you. I won you a large mouse doorstop, and I still remember the look on your face that day when I gave it to you. Whether you loved it or not, I still don't know to this day, but it was always displayed with pride. Perhaps the best surprise I gave you for Mother's Day was tickets to the Medallion Club with Lizzie and an all-you-can-eat buffet. It was a waste of money because I doubt you even ate your money's worth that day, but to be able to treat you like royalty like you deserved is one of the memories that I will treasure forever. One of the most memorable nights at your place was when we introduced you and Lizzie to Cards Against Humanity. As soon as I heard your infectious laughter after you drew a card, I knew you had something hilarious to share and it wasn't worth putting anything of mine out. However, almost as funny was watching you Google the meanings to some of the words and the laughter that followed that. I would like to apologise to Pop for that night as you had to sit through all of that. Whilst we've heard about Mum's hilarious laugh and warped humour, one trait I'll never forget is her selflessness. For about 6 years, Mum worked 5.5 days a week because she had a part-time job on Saturday mornings following me around with cricket. There were many other times, such as picking me up from KFC at midnight and having my clothes washed and dried for another shift, 8 o'clock to go the next morning. There were countless other times where this trait shone through. When I got old enough to understand the magnitude of it and display gratitude, she would say, "I'm your mum, it's part of the job." But no, Mum. You went over and above for us, and you've instilled that quality in me. Although I really appreciated being taken care of in my childhood years, I really liked, as an adult, being able to spoil you and treat you in return. We started a number of trends with our visits, which Mum then reciprocated when we stayed there. When she was visiting us, there would be Turkish delights waiting at the foot of her bed on her arrival. And then when we visited her, we would always arrive with a cheesecake shop cheesecake, which never lasted us all very long. These traditions took a hilarious turn during COVID when we arrived at Mum's house for a long-awaited visit. There weren't any chocolates. However, there was a roll of toilet paper on a towel at the end of our bed. As Sam and I laughed, we were quickly reminded by Mum that she had counted how many rolls she had in the laundry and that we weren't to pinch any more. It might come as a surprise to you, but I wasn't the easiest child growing up. I remember one of the childhood tantrums I saved for the public eye in Woolworths. one of the best forums. I remember begging for Tim Tams and you just would not cave in. Normally we could get her to cave in. This time she was just adamant. She said that she couldn't afford it, and that was it. I cracked it and I said, well, I'm going to make sure I get a good job so I can afford Tim Tams. Well, I've got you and Dad to thank for bringing me up with a hard work ethic. I can afford them occasionally. I remember early one morning, for whatever reason it was, I copped the wooden spoon on my right butt cheek. I must have done something real good this time because this one had a little bit extra behind it. So much so that the wooden spoon snapped in two, right in front of us. I don't have many regrets in life, but this one was laughing at her as it broke. She was only small, but I was marched straight into the car, down to Safeway. This time we went straight past the bargain trolleys to buy a new one. Mum, my heart breaks not knowing I'll see your smile or hear your laugh again. I'm going to miss our chats, our trips to the footy, and especially the rides at the carnival with you. Thank you for all the good times we've shared. Thank you for always being there and teaching me how to be a good person. It's devastating to lose a parent and a lifelong friend on the same day. But Mum, that's what you were. I'm forever grateful to have had you in my life.
I've just got something that I'm going to read. Lynette Eaton, as I mentioned earlier, would love to have been here, and she's watching us via the live stream, and she's given me this to read. It's for Janice. So go and run free with the angels, dance around the golden clouds, for the Lord has chosen you to be with him, and we should feel nothing but proud. Although he has taken you from us, and our pain a lifetime will last, your memory will never escape us, but make us glad for the time we did have. Your face will always be hidden deep inside our hearts. Each precious moment you gave us shall never ever depart. So go and run free with the angels as they sing so tenderly. And please be sure to tell them to take good care of you for me. Now, there were some great memories that were shared, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more memories being shared later on. But now we're going to see some photos. When we take them, we want them to capture that moment and have that photo to look back on, and to share that memory with others by showing them the photos. Each one tells its own story of love, like at a wedding, joy by seeing a new baby, fun on a holiday, or friendship by just being in the photos together. You're now going to see the photos that will tell you about Janice's life, and that includes all the emotions mentioned, and the biggest one will be happiness and laughter.
Sunlight falls heavy, can't hide your wake already. Long night, you're unsteady, you don't even wanna be here, do you? Cry out, not for the last time. It's funny how a word might save your life. And I'm saying a lot right now, but I don't wanna fight, I don't wanna cry, I don't wanna leave, I don't wanna be here now. There's a bad taste in my mouth. I stumble in the dark, tripping on my heart. It's gonna leave a mark. Maybe we could stay and wait it out. You're the one that talks me down, and even you can't help me now. Even you can't help me now. my mouth. I stumble in the dark, tripping on a heart that's gonna leave a mark. Maybe we can stay and wait it out. You're the one that talks me down. Either you can't help me now. And we fall, and we break, and we turn our inside out. And we're lost in a daze for days and days and days. And now, when I thought that I could turn it around, but I don't wanna fight, I don't wanna cry, I don't wanna leave, but I don't wanna be here now. There's a bad taste in my mouth.
Right, stick them in, Jenny.
Yeah?
Yeah, put them in.
Me?
Just don't slam your feet on the bottom, then just squash them.
Did a fish off me foot?
No.
So they didn't even touch your feet yet. Hold them in there. Great, that was like great.
Oh my lord.
Put your feet back in there, come on. It's paying good money to have your feet in there.
Taste in my mouth. Hey, I was stumbled in the dark, tripping on a heart that's gonna leave a mark. Maybe we can stay and wait it out. You're the one that talks me down. Even you can't help me now. Even you can't help me now. Baby, even you can't help me now. Even you can't help me now. Heading down south to the land of the pines. I'm thumbing my way into North Carolina, staring up the road and pray to God I see headlights. I made it down the coast in 17 hours, picking me a bouquet of dogwood flowers. And I'm hoping for Raleigh I can see my baby tonight. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, mama, rock me. Running from the cold off of New England, I was born to be a fiddler in an old-time string band. My baby plays the guitar, I pick a banjo now. Oh, North Country winters keep a getting me down. Lost my money playing poker, so I had to leave town. But I ain't a-turning back to living that old life no more. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, to the south out of Roanoke. I caught a trucker out of Philly, had a nice long talk. But he's headed west from the Cumberland Gap to Johnson City, Tennessee. I gotta move on before the sun. I hear my baby calling my name, and I know that she's the only one. And if I die in Raleigh, at least I will die free. So rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, any way you feel. Hey, mama, rock me. Oh, rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. Rock me, mama, like a southbound train. Hey, hey, mama, rock me. Oh, so rock me, mama, like a wagon wheel. Rock me, mama, I wanna feel. Hey, hey, mama, rock me, mama, rock me. Rock me, mama, like the wind and the rain. I wanna rock like a southbound train. Hey, yeah, mama, you can rock me, rock me.
How good. That was just so good. So many special memories in there and a lot of laughter. And the parasailing. I'm glad you got that in there. Today you've been celebrating the life of someone who was loved by you all in your own way, and you were each loved back by Janice. Remember her for the wonderful, fun-loving person that she was. Whenever you hear the Carlton theme song being played, think of how rapt she would be because it meant they'd won a game. The next time you hear someone yell bingo, imagine Janice cheering you on. She'd much rather be calling bingo herself. Think of how she enjoyed watching shows like Married at First Sight, The Bachelor, The Farmer Wants a Wife, all those trashy things. The next time you hear a song by Rob Thomas, think of how much Janice loved and enjoyed his music and the concerts that she went to see when she heard him play live. The next time you go to throw a Turkish Delight chocolate in the bin, think of how much she loved them, and instead of throwing it out, give it to someone who likes that flavour. Remember how she loved to spend time in her garden, even if it was a small garden, and how she decorated it with her garden gnomes and ornaments. Little splashes of red popped around the garden and in the house. When you see proteas or tulips, think of Janice and how she loved these particular flowers, and they've managed to source some tulips, which are in the spray over there. She'll be remembered for her jelly cakes, and now you can all have a go at making her delicious lamb patties with the recipe that's been shared with you on your booklets. Pretty simple. I don't know whether you can make it just like Janice did though. She'll be heard she loved shopping and was known by family and friends as the Imelda Marcos of Bairnsdale with her huge shoe collection. She was described to me as a firecracker. She was small in build, but her mouth made up for it. There will always be constant reminders of Janice that will appear to you. Embrace these reminders because it is helping to keep her memory alive and within your hearts. I'm going to close with a reading, which is written by Donna Ashworth. When you have lost someone, don't make the mistake of living in sadness or living small to honour their absence. You owe it to them to live even more vividly than before. If they could reach you, they would surely say, "Take the love you had for me and turn it into gladness. Use the love you had for me to drive away the sadness." Love is an energy so powerful, so all-consuming, that when the person you felt all that love for is not here, you are a vessel filled with the boundless source of power that has nowhere to go. Harness it. Use it to burn even more brightly and leave even more loudly than before. Share the love you felt for that person with all the other special people in your life, for it's limitless. There is no end to it, and there never ever should be. If Janice could reach you, she would surely say, "Make my time on earth count loudly, so that I've not lived in vain. Use the love we shared to make more love and not more pain." Thank you. Feel free to sing with this next song.
We are the baby blues. We are the old dark navy blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. We're all the champions. They like to send up. We'll leave our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
And there's more.
We are the Navy Blues. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. We're all the champions. They like to send up. We'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark blues.
Lindsay, would you mind holding the basket? Sorry. Thank you.
It'd be easy, like, to the person she was anyway.
Yes, yes,
Made
yes.
it a lot easier. I said she mailed it out, but no, she lived with us and she changed our Oh yeah, she will be. Yeah, they'll be up there together. They'll go on the shopping Yeah, it is. Yeah. She didn't like it. She didn't want to say.
you.